Hello again, gardening friends. It's about 5 o'clock, Sunday, March 30th. It took until 5 o'clock for the rains to abate. It's still peppering here and there, but it's as light as it's going to get for a while. As you can see out on the back deck, I did bring out my desert rose, and it's in bloom. And it has a whole bunch more blooms up and down the stalk. It's my first year of having one, and all the leaves kind of fell off of it when I had it in my bedroom over the winter, and it had all those little stubs, and I was debating whether to remove them because they've kind of made the trunk look a little odd, but I'm glad I didn't. Turned out they were places for flower buds. So it's going to have a whole bunch more flowers. You can see the buds up and down the stalk, so I'm pleased with it. And I did tell a lie last week. I said I was going to put this out by the street in my camellia garden, and I decided I sit back here a lot more and I would enjoy the flowers more sitting here on the deck. So I put the other plant out there, the what's it called? The Frangipani. I did rearrange these plants. I brought the clivia back out. The horsetail equisetum is doing well. It's growing great guns. If I can just keep the cats away from nibbling at it. And you can see everything likes the fertilization. The loropetalum has put out a whole new flush of leaves. And this, surprisingly enough, are the cuts, offcuts that I took from my pampas grass, not pampas grass, my, what do you call the stuff? The Egyptian stuff, papyrus. And they are sprouting. You can see sprouts here, there, over there. So not bad considering they had no roots. They were just an offshoot sticking out over the side of the pot. Here you can see where I cut one off, but they had little stubs of roots, and so I stuck them in the ground and they're growing. And the old papyrus from last year is coming back. It too is sending new shoots out. Here you can see the vincas are starting to bloom. I planted those last week. Those are peach is the name of them, but it's the kind that I have here in the backyard. You can also see the oxalis is coming back, so I'll have to weed that. But yeah, I worked over these pots in the backyard. Oh, the other thing of note is the green things that I had sprouting on my sink have rooted Hollies, and I went ahead and made 3 pots. I put 2 branches in each pot, and I hope to, once when they catch root a little bit, I hope to have them out in the yard soon. Here you can see the Pieris japonica, the nice side of it, where all the flowers are. And in the corner here is my peach angel's trumpet. So far not showing any damage from slugs. One thing that did not do well this year were my tulips. They look pitiful. Of course, I got them on sale late in the season, but I did refrigerate them religiously. Planted them up, and they kind of came up sporadically, but if they bloom, they bloom. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It didn't really cost me all that much. I did put out the nepenthes, my pitcher plant, and I cleaned it up. I got rid of the dead. It still has quite a lot of pitchers, but of course at the terminus of each one of these leaves will be a fresh new pitcher. Cyclamen is still doing well underneath. We got about an inch of rain today. And you can see my radishes are now 3 weeks old. I need to thin them out. This I repotted. This is the golden chalice vine. I consolidated 2 plants. Nothing's really going to happen to that for probably another month, and then the leaves are falling off. This is the time of the year it goes dormant. It blooms in the fall and goes dormant in the spring. It looks like I have some activity on my cardboard palm. I'll have to keep an eye on that growth stalk. My chocolate mint has really done well after repotting in some fresh garden soil. And of course the red pelargoniums are looking fine. That's why I really wanted to do this video today, because so much has happened in terms of sprouting. There you can see my crepe myrtle, having been pollarded, is now sprouting. I'm going to get rid of some of the lower sprouts. This clump especially I'll get rid of. You can still see the snowflakes blooming. That was the large clump. I am partial to these. It took me 5 or 6 years for these to come up, but they have a nice healthy clump. As you can also see, a nice healthy banana coming up. There are a bunch more yet in there. To be careful coming down the ramp because it is slick. Here, of course, is where the majority of the work took place by me this last week, is opening up the area around the garage in readiness for the siding replacement and the paint. Here is the paint. It turns out the color that I've chosen is Poseidon. It's the middle one. It should look pretty nice. I should say the trim is going to be white. I'm going to leave the top of the trellis natural like it is. The back side of the garage is only a foot away from my neighbor and the neighbor's property, so I'm just going to have it painted white, the trim color. So basically all one to make it easy to get at and upkeep. I have not done any weeding over here. I figure I'll do that after the repairs are done to the garage, because that's mostly weed. It really is a weed, although it's Alstroemeria. So it's not the end of the world if it gets flattened and I remove it. In here I did a lot of cleanup. I moved my crocosmia. It used to be here, and that is my toad lily that used to be there. It didn't like there because it is too much deep shade now in the summer. So I moved it to the front, and I put the crocosmia there. I replaced the crocosmia, displaced some cardamom ginger. Cardamom ginger is more a sentimental plant for me because it was given to me many years ago by a friend who is no longer with us. He died of a rare form of a blood disease. And in any event, I have other ones in the front yard. So I figured I could lose these. I'll still have his remembrance in the front yard. And I put the same on this side. It is strange when you have a garden that you want to be somewhat symmetrical, but yet it can't be totally symmetrical. For one, this side is pretty much full sun, and this side is partial shade. But you can see I moved the crocosmia here. It used to be in this spot, but I never really showed you guys before. There's actually a pathway to an area behind my garage, and so I freed up the pathway, especially now that the satsuma is cut down. It actually is a pathway, and I can actually use it again for storage, which is what it used to be used for years ago. But in the past 5 years, I don't think I've ever gone back here. But you can see it needs a little cleanup, but that'll happen. Needless to say, this side of the garage will need to be repaired. And these trellises, they're really window bars, I guess you call burglar bars, from a window that I got one time on sale. They used to be on either side of the front of the garage. I took them down. If you go back a year and see the front of the garage, they're still on there. But they were never really any good at growing vines because they would just rush to the top of the garage and then grow up there. And they also created spots for water ingress into the garage. So they used to be here and there, and instead I planted these needle palms in front. So really they'd be hidden behind the needle palms, so there's no need to do that. The electrical panel was moved last year. You can see the electrical going in there. It used to go in midway in the garage. It was an eyesore, and that was the reason I put those trellises up there to help disguise that. But now that that's moved low, just painting it a nice turquoise color will make it look good, in my opinion. I also trimmed up the hydrangeas. This one got trimmed down quite a lot because it's more exposed and had more dead. They are both Nico blue. That one you can see. Again, try and keep it symmetrical from side to side. That one has a little more leaves. It'll probably bloom nicely. Of course, my herb bed is still doing fine. I've got a couple of blossoms on my amaryllis back here. I actually have 4 amaryllis, and the last time all 4 bloomed was when originally my oak trees fell down and caused a lot of damage back here, including cracking the roof of my garage. I still have some inside work to do on that garage, but I'm going to wait till I get a new roof. I need my roof repaired this year, so I figured we'll do the roof and then we'll repair whatever cracks are up in the ceiling. You can see some new growth here on my cycad. This one is unsexed yet. I don't know if it's a male or a female. That one is definitely a male. We'll see later this year. Of course, I did turn my fountains on. They sound nice. Very relaxing. I actually do find myself sitting here on this little ceramic container. It does have a weight limit on it, but fortunately I've lost enough weight where I meet the weight limit. So I don't have to worry about it. Everything looks very verdant when it gets wet back here. I haven't done a lot here yet, but I will be. I do have to trim up the Gardenias. I trimmed them once and you can see how they flushed up. I need to go ahead and cut them back one more time. This begonia is doing well. I did plant that this year, a couple of weeks ago, and I say it's already about doubled in height. I see all my boxwood have splayed open from the rains we had. We had some strong rains today and winds. This statue is being covered over by the Fatzias, but you can see all the new growth on the Fatzias. I don't fertilize the Fatzias, but the palms get a lot of fertilizer. This had about 8 or 9 cups of fertilizer, so there's enough runoff to get the plants underneath them. My Canary Island date palm, I thought we'd get to trimming some of the dead off of it this week, but it just didn't happen. It'll be in 2 more weeks. But you can see the flush of new growth. The way you put the palm fertilizer on is you measure the diameter of the trunk 3 foot off the ground, divide it in half, and that's the number of cups that you put out. So the diameter of that is about 20 inches, so it takes about 10 cups. You can see the fertilizer sprayed all along the ground, and it will slowly sink in. You're supposed to actually rake it in, which I've kind of done, but when you have so much of it, it's not going to all be absorbed. I did limb up this loquat to open up the vincas underneath here. They're the same color vincas as I have by the deck. The blueberries have finished blooming, and you can see the onset of berries. Well, they have a few blooms yet left. There's a little bit of growth on the pecan. Back in here, not a lot. You can see the, I'm not going to walk back there, but you can see the, if you look in the corner, the viburnum, snowball viburnum is in bloom. Really the first time, and really since I bought it. Mainly, I guess, because I just got sick of it and cut it back. It got too tall. I have some strawberries. Not quite ripe yet, but they're coming. Because it hasn't been sunny today, my spiderwort is not in bloom, but this is basically a weed for down in zone 9A like we are here in Mobile. But I do like the azure blue color of it. And lo and behold, my Ozark plum has buds at the top. I was going to cut all that seemingly dead stuff off, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's got hundreds of buds up there. So it seems like it caught. Starting to sprinkle a little bit more now. And of course this side of the garage will be worked on as well. I'm going to clean all this stuff up. This just basically became a dumping ground over here, which used to be in that back far corner, and I'm going to move all that to the back far corner because I don't go back there all the time. This I see all the time when I go into the garage, so I'm going to pretty that up some. I have to still look at what's going on with this knockout rose. You can see it's still blooming here, but it has a lot of dead. And depending on how much is left, I have an extra rose that they sent me from Walmart last year when I ordered this yellow knockout. There's a separate one and that one. So I may wind up digging that one up and moving it. My last of the camellias still blooming. Of course, I fertilized all the camellias. I did not fertilize the boxwoods. Camellias got fertilized. Gardenias got fertilized. Palms got fertilized. Citrus got fertilized. Just about everything got fertilized. The Lenten Roses got fertilized. This looks so much more open and clean now. You really do get to see the Lenten Roses since I cut back this African iris. And I do love my new Lenten Rose. Of course, Easter lilies are coming up next to it. They might actually bloom by Easter this year. And this Lenten Rose is coming up there. That's the one I bought this year. Oh, the one I was kind of shocked. This one is one I had from last year that only had one leaf, and I stepped on it and broke it while planting that one, and it has come back. So yes, that was a pink one, I believe, so it'll look nice having two there. Let's take a quick walk around front. Birds are out today. Of course, you can still see the violets in the pot over there. I have a lot of weeds that I call flowers in my yard. It's all relative. What's a weed to some can be a flower to others. Oh, it's starting to pepper rain a little bit more. Again, here are some more of the, if you can see it in the amongst the ivy. I'll thin it out a little, the ivy that is, but that's some more toad lily. Of course, this satsuma is really leafing out. I'm excited about those straight branches coming up back there. It needs more back there. In front here, all is looking well. This is a different encore azalea. I got it on sale last year. It's a fuchsia colored as opposed to all the others I have are autumn carnation. Next trash day, I'll probably clean some of the dead off of these cycads as well. Thanks for that noise. I did notice a little rat son of a gun was in here. Oh, I left my pot here yesterday when I potted. Something had been eating my basil. turned out to be a squirrel, so I bought Thai basil and put it in its spot. I have a lot of buds, flowers on my blackberries. Here, of course, you can see the dill. The dill is coming up nicely. Well, the flowers apparently all fell off. There's one. There's still more coming. You throw the pot down there. That's lemon balm. That's marjoram, and I was excited to see I pried some of it up from underneath the dill, and it has rooted. So I'm going to dig some of it up and put it in a pot and put it around back. I do have some basil. Let me say this quietly so the squirrels don't hear. I have some basil here, which they haven't found yet. I think I'm going to buy a container of basil and stick it in the back on the deck. To be frank, which actually is my middle name, herbs don't do you that much good if they're way far away from your kitchen, because you really aren't going to be walking a long distance for herbs, so the closer they can be to your kitchen, the better. The dianthus is still looking nice up front here. I cut back this loropetalum dramatically and fertilized it and put some dirt in there. I got some free dirt from the street. It's all the guys that do my lawn clean the mud off from the street, and it's all pretty much a leaf litter that's ground up. So it's very good soil. So I put it in the pot. Of course, I put fertilizer in there. I did fertilize these gardenias, but did not trim them yet. The little evergreen is doing fine. And let me see if I can get a good picture of it. Here's some of that cardamom ginger that I was telling you about. I have a ring of it, so I still have plenty to remember Dan by. He was a co-worker of mine. But there you can see the crepe myrtle. Oh, it looks like I got some water on the screen. That's better. I wiped it off. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you get under trees. My fig is sprouting definitely along the base, and it had been sprouting at the tips until that last frost. But I did some pruning to shape it a little, and it still is alive. It just hasn't shown any growth yet at the tips. So the tree is alive. How much of it is there, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, this is where I moved the plant from the backyard. I do need to also attack these irises. They're the Louisiana iris. They're growing outwards in a ring away from where I originally planted them, and I need to move them back to their original places. Well, you can see how badly it's raining there. We're just about done. This little garden looks fine. I'm in the shade of the tree now, which helps me. Plus, I've got a rain hat on. Here's an iris. When it blooms, I'll do a short on it because the blooms don't last that long. But I had 3 of them that lived, and I moved a couple from that corner to this corner. I like to keep 4 there. Oh, the other thing I did this week, and that one has already sprouted that much, 6 inches, 8 inches since I cut it. I cut this last Tuesday. They had just gotten too tall. They were basically up to the top of the windows. So it's pleasant again to now look out and be able to see the birds and the bird bath. But all of this growth, this purple stuff, is brand spanking new. It was not there last week. Of course, all of these azaleas were fertilized. These are the Encore azaleas. And I did fertilize my 4 tea olives, osmanthus, in the back. I used plant tone on those. I am not a great espoma fan. I use it, but to be frank, why I used it this year is it turned out at Ace Hardware, where I got my fertilizer, I shop around, it was half price. So I'm a sucker for a half-price sale. So that's where I got all, and it happened to be a espoma. I will tell you one thing, it stinks. Every espoma plant food that you get, fertilizer you get, has what smells like cow poo in it. And I made the mistake of sprinkling it out in the backyard Friday before the rains came in my pajamas. Well, not on my pajamas, I was in my pajamas. And I went in the house and sat on the bed, and Miss Mimi was there, and it's like, Miss Mimi, you stink. And then I realized it was the dust that had settled in my pajamas. So needless to say, I've had to wash them. But yes, everything here is looking fine. You can see what I did here, other than not get that oxalis, is I left one ring of the purple one-ring good, and then I have the magenta of the impatiens. We'll see if the slugs don't get them. I have to put out slug bait eventually when I start seeing damage. But so far, no damage. These azaleas are, I don't fertilize these big azaleas. However, I do fertilize the Camellias, and I do fertilize the palms. So we got the beautiful royal velvet still blooming. They are huge, and they are very deep red color. They're not really a tomato red. I'm trying to think of what red. Well, that one fell apart. It's kind of like red, like my front door, like a candy apple. I'll say it's a candy apple red. Sometimes colors don't come over well on these videos. And I also straightened this bench. It's amazing how things like that settle over the years. Well, actually in 1 year. I sat on the bench and it had about an inch lean towards the back, so now it's straight again. I did notice from inside the house, I don't know if I'll be able to find them here, but there are a couple of spots where I have some loquats. I'm not sure I'm going to have any loquats this year because of the late frost, but it looks like it has a few fruits here and there. The loquats are so old that I don't fertilize them anymore. They fend for themselves, as is the same for this magnolia. I forgot the name of that magnolia, but it has the brown underleaves. It's not supposed to get tall. Well, that looks pretty darn tall to me. Little gem. Doesn't seem so little anymore. Let's see, I'm 6 foot. Well, actually 5'9", I shrunk. Let's see, there's 1 of me, 2 of me, 3 of me. I'd say it's about 24 feet tall. No growth yet on this cassia. I haven't given up on it yet. We shall see. Of course, it's not the end of the world. I have 2 cassias in the backyard. Oh, my wandering iris has got some buds. That's a nice spot for something else, right there. Of course, this area I did clean up. What I did is I trimmed back the gardenias all to about the same height. And I fertilized them. I fertilized all the gardenias. I need to come in and do the same here. I did it for these first 4, but I just flat out got tired and I stopped. You can't do it all in one day. So I will finish off the rest of the gardenias. It's good to cut them all back early in the spring before they start budding out. I probably did forfeit some blossoms, but that's not the end of the world. These bananas look fantastic. Except for the 2 that are really close over there. But they're so close I probably could just afford to get rid of one. But to be truthful, I'll just let them grow. It's away from the house. They're not going to harm anything. Oh, you can also see here the amaryllis. These are last year's amaryllis. Bud 1, bud 2. And this side has a lot more. This amaryllis that's in bloom is the one that was in the front porch. And bud 1, bud 2, bud 3, bud 4, bud 5. So it's got a lot of amaryllis blossoms coming. I did top dress my agaves and fertilize them. I did not bother with the pansies because they're on their way out. Pansies will be gone shortly. I did want to show some of the new growth on this crepe myrtle. I don't see any sprouts on this branch or that one, but there are some little ones near the top. I may leave some of these, but not all of those. Oh, that's what I mean. I keep getting surprised. This is spring, and it's amazing what's in bloom. This is my English dogwood, Philadelphias. We used to have a hedge of that ran this whole span between our properties, Sarah and myself. And this one just sprouted up from the blue. There's another one coming up over there. They're a nice plant. However, this is the time of the year they excel. To be truthful, they kind of are just green in the summer, and then in the wintertime the leaves fall off. So they're not very impressive the rest of the year. My thyme in the front is blooming. No growth yet on my rosemary. Oh, the other thing, I'm getting some other excitement. The middle part of my Australian tree fern is sprouting. I got 2 new sprouts there. This sprout had rotted, but you can see that white clump down there. It's not rotten, so I cleared the rot out to that. So I don't know if I maybe have saved that side. Well, time will tell. But at least the center part of the stalk is growing. And these are bags of leaves waiting to go. 2 of those will go around the garage when it's been painted. Hopefully, depending on weather, the garage will be at least repaired next week. Depending on whether it may or may not be painted. I'd like it to be painted. They'd like to paint it, but we'll see what happens. It's all in God's hands, as is always the case anyway. And with that, I will go in the house. Hopefully I unlock this door. And we'll end where we started this morning, with a close-up of my Schefflera. I couldn't think of the name of it fast enough this morning. I got that. A friend of mine had a Schefflera that grew in a rock. It was only about 1 foot tall. And this was a cutting from it that was rooted. And I had it in like a 4-inch pot forever. And my friend said, just cut it back. This is the same friend that gets my orchids. He grows orchids on. But he said, cut it back and it'll get bushier. Well, I cut it back and it sent up a single stem. However, it sent up a single tall stem. So I don't mind it. It looks beautiful. So I put it in a bigger pot. It's less apt to fall over. I have had luck with my fiddle leaf figs. I used to have a big one here in the front porch. I may have to cut that leaf. I just noticed it has a big hole in it. I did notice it got floppy. So I've had to stalk it up, or stake it up, I should say. And with that, I'm going to move that fuchsia closer to the sunlight. Put something else on the pedestal. But there you have it for today. We did get a tour in. Hopefully the picture looks okay. You didn't get any raindrops, but that one that I wiped off. I fertilized everything in here. I've started a regime of fertilizing using Miracle-Gro. I do it about 1/3 strength, simply because that's easy for me to measure for the little can that I use to water everything. And I pretty much water every week or every other week, depending on how lazy I feel, because it's a little watering can and it takes about 15 can loads back and forth to the kitchen. So depending on how I feel, today I fertilized everything. But that seems to be keeping everything sprouting, because a lot of things have not been repotted. Like this cactus, the Thanksgiving/Christmas cactus combo, has got a lot of new growth on it. It's been in that pot now, well, that pot for probably about 15 years. I got that plant when I left college, A friend, actually a co-worker, well, friend at college gave me, he had sprouted a bunch of them, and I bought a plant from him. Not a great friend because he made me buy it. But in any event, I mean, that was many years ago because I'm going to be 70 this year. So many, many years ago. And it's only ever been repotted twice. So the fertilizer helps keep it alive. I do top dress it from time to time. And I guess that's about it for today. So I hope you all get to get out in your gardens and enjoy them. Spring is here, at least in Zone 9A. Things are growing hand over fist. It's just hard trying to keep up. So take care for now. I see this must be about a 35-40 minute video because it's about 20 minutes to 6 now. So take care. Sorry it was so late, but the rains came today and we did need the rain. So till next week, take care.